الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته ومنتهى علمه وجميع ما شاء وخلق وبرأ علم الغيب وشهادة الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون أما بعد فيقول الله تعالى في سورة البقرة يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين صدق الله العظيم والحمد لله. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank him for sending the best of his creation as our example, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we thank him for surrounding him with blessed companions that all of us can identify with. We can all identify with some or at least one of the companions. A lot of their life stories are completely different, and we can draw examples from not only the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but from his blessed companions. One of the such companions that comes to my mind is Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many people don't know how Hamza came into Islam. We receive like half of the story in the movie, The Message. That's really only half of the story. In that movie, the way it's depicted is that they were specifically Abu Jahl, who was probably the most influential and the biggest enemy to Islam, was abusing and attacking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Hamza heard about it. And so out of his anger and desire to protect his nephew and his family, he came there and he exchanged words with Abu Jahl, and then he took his bow, because he was a hunter, he slapped him with it. The way it's depicted in the movie, Abu Jahl cowered down, and Hamza said, "Say it again." In other words, like you punch somebody in the face for talking trash. Now say it again. Let me hear you say it one more time. That's kind of like what Hamza did. In the movie, the way they depict it, Abu Jahl kind of cowered down and kind of like scurried away. What really happened when you read the seerah is that Abu Jahl didn't cower down, he didn't retaliate, and Abu Jahl's clan, Bani Ma'zoom, rose up to jump Hamza. And Abu Jahl stopped it so that they didn't want to create a tribal war, an internal feud within Quraysh. That's how it really happened. And when that happened, Hamza said, if anybody has a problem with Muhammad, has a problem with me. I say what he says. Now what? So that's how he became Muslim. What they don't show you on the movie, in the movie, is that when he got alone later on that night, and he calmed down, he said, I just hit Abu Jahl. Whoa, what did I do? Like he started thinking about the possible repercussions because Abu Jahl wasn't a slouch. But he remained firm in Islam. Alhamdulillah. And because of Hamza becoming Muslim, and it's amazing because Ibn Ishaq mentions in his seerah that Hamza's anger, his ghadab, brought him into Islam. His anger brought him into Islam. Allah used his anger and his desire to protect his nephew to guide him to Islam. And so the Muslims got a little bit stronger when Hamza became Muslim. Because even though Hamza wasn't a leader and had as much respect and notoriety as Abu Jahl, he was still somebody of note. He was still somebody that the people had enough respect for. A few days later, another staunch enemy becomes Muslim. Another enemy of Islam who spent their time persecuting and torturing Muslims becomes Muslim himself. Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. When Umar takes Shahadah, you know the story, and it's a long story. He was on the way to kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was his intention. And a series of events happened, and he himself ended up taking Shahadah. And then he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, didn't Allah send you with the truth? He said, yeah, aren't you the messenger of Allah? Yes. So why are we hiding this thing? And he asked him this several times. And then he went out in Mecca, screaming at the top of his lungs, knocking on people's door. Hey, I became Muslim. I followed Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I became Muslim. Because Umar was somebody else who the people feared and had a lot of respect for, and he was a well-known fighter. Specifically, he was a wrestler. Like we don't like to wrestle in Pittsburgh a lot. You should be able to relate to Umar. Umar was a wrestler. He was known for wrestling. He was known for having he was tall and had a big frame. He was like what we would say cock diesel. When you read his descriptions, they say that when you saw him from a distance, you thought that he was sitting on his horse because he like towered over everybody. But when you got up on him, you realized he's just standing up on his feet. So he was tall and he was thick. He was diesel. And so he became Muslim, and he's going knocking on people's door because what was his mindset? In his mind, he was like, I spent all of this time persecuting Muslims, beating Muslims. Now I'm Muslims. Whatever the Muslims are suffering, I want to suffer right along with them. I'm not special, I'm nobody, I'm from amongst the Muslims. So he went doing this hoping that somebody would beat him up and that he would get persecuted. But nobody wanted to step to Umar. He even went to Abu Jahl's house. He knocked on the door. What is it, Umar? And he said, Umar welcomed him, good greeting and everything. What's up? I became Muslim. Come on, don't say that. I became Muslim. He slammed the door in his face. Somebody saw Umar going door to door and all of these things. And he said, I know what you're trying to do. Why don't you go tell such and such and so and so? And the person that he told him to tell was like that big mouth person in the hood. Like if you want to get word on the street, you know there's that one person you could go to. And if you really want them to tell, you say, promise you won't tell nobody. Then that person go tell everybody. So this person is what is whom this person told Umar to go to. So Umar went and told this person that he became Muslim. He's a follower of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so this man, Umar, could barely finish a sentence. The dude jumped up and went screaming around the city. He said, Asbahta Umar. Umar, and the way they used to disrespect Muslims. They used to say, Umar became a Sabian. He didn't say Aslamta Umar, he said Asbahta, like he became a Sabian. Umar became a Sabian. You know, and so he went around telling everybody, so then a mob formed up. A mob formed up. And they surrounded Umar, and so now they got all these numbers, now they got enough heart to jump Umar. So they jumped Umar. And what Umar said, and it was funny because when you read the narration of the story, it's coming from, depending on what narration you read, it's coming from Umar himself, or it's coming from Abdullah ibn Umar, his son, who's watching all of this happen. And it said Umar would grab the most notable, influential one, and wrestle him down to the ground with him, and then begin to gorge out his eyes. He did it to Umayyah bin Khalaf. He grabbed him, he wrestled him down while everybody's jumping him. And if you ever get jumped, that's what you do. You can't fight 50 people. Just grab one. The toughest one, the strongest one, the biggest one, the most notable one, and beat him up. Concentrate your energy on him. Everybody punches can't land. And so you do what Umar did. Umar got him to the ground and began to gorge out his eyes. And he said, ah! And so then everybody backed up. Okay, let him go, let him go, let him go. So Umar would let him go. And then they would jump him again. And then the same thing would happen over and over again. Until Umar got tired and he just finally gave up and he just took the beating. And so this is how Umar came into Islam. Look at Abu Dhar al-Ghifari. Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, he's from the Ghifar tribe. They were not from Mecca. They were known to be highway robbers. They were stick-up kids. Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, his whole clan were like notorious stick-up kids. And so you better have good relations with them if you had caravans going through the desert, because you might get robbed. And so Abu Dhar, he heard about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm not going to tell the whole story, but he sent his brother to go to Mecca to find out, you know, if this man, this rumor they heard about this man named Muhammad, if it's true or not. So his brother came back, he really didn't satisfy his curiosity. And so Abu Dhar al-Ghifari went to Mecca himself. And remember, all of this is like 5 or 6 years, you know, from the time of prophecy. So Islam under the Prophet ﷺ has only been around 5+ years at this time. We didn't even get to Mecca where Muslims have any authority or any control. Very similar to the time period in which we're living now. So Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, he comes to Mecca and he plays incognito because the Prophet ﷺ, they know he exists, they know that he's given dawah, but he's sort of kind of blacklisted. You just can't go to Mecca and, hey, what's up, man? You can't tell me where Muhammad at. I'm trying to hear what he got to say. You can't come like that. You have to secretly meet with him. And so when Abu Dhar got to Mecca, he sat around the circle just hanging out, and Ali noticed him. Ali asked him, I know you from out of town. Who are you? What's up, man? What you here for? Remember, Ali's a young child. Ali at this time is probably about 12 years old, approximately. What you doing here? What's going on? Then he finally let on to him that I heard about this man calling himself a prophet, and I come to see for myself, perhaps I may follow him. So Ali says, all right, you can follow me, I'll take you to him, but don't follow too close behind me. Because, you know, it's a very dangerous thing we're doing. Me take you to him, you know, we could get hurt by doing this. So, stay at a distance behind me. And if you see me walk off the road a little bit and act like I'm relieving myself using the bathroom, that means somebody following us, and fall back a little bit. And we just keep doing this until I get you there. At this time, he was in Dar al-Arqam. There's a Sahaabah named Dar al-Arqam. So they didn't have a masjid that they controlled. They used to have classes and everything in this brother's house. And so they would meet there secretly. And so this is where the Prophet ﷺ was. Ali took Abu Dhar al-Ghifari to him, and he introduced himself. The Prophet ﷺ gave him da'wah, then he became Muslim. What did he do when he took Shahada? When he took Shahada, he went straight to the Kaaba. He went straight in front of the Nadwa, the council. And he said, I bear witness that there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And he said it in front of everybody, which was a no-no at that time. And they jumped him, and they almost beat him unconscious, just for saying that. Not for saying I'm a suicide bomber, not for saying any of these things. No, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Because the Shahadah meant something at that time. And they jumped him just for that. And they would have beat him to death, literally. If it wasn't for Al-Abbas, the other uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, who said, whoa, do you know who this guy is? He's from the Ghifar tribe. If you value your caravan, get it this, you better leave him alone. That's like you get your hands on a notorious stick-up kid in the street who know where everybody's stash at. And you start to jump him. Like, whoa, if you care about your package, you better get up off him. And so they let him off. And when he went, the Muslims, the Sahaabah told him, even Umar, don't do that. No, he's like, he couldn't contain himself. He had this energy. He's a new Shahadah. And so when they brought him back, they said, I feared that this would happen. You know what? Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, he went out the next day and did the same thing. In front of everybody. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And the same thing happened. Then the Prophet ﷺ instructed him to go back to his people and come to me, migrate to me when you hear that Allah has given me victory. And he did that. Walhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, wa afdalu salatu wa atamu taslim. على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن سادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقالديهم إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. We mentioned in the beginning the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, come into Islam all the way. Udkhulu fi silmi kafa wa la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Or you who believe, come into Islam all the way, kafir, completely. Or as Yusuf Ali translates it, wholeheartedly. And do not follow the footsteps of the devil, of the shaitan, because he is to you an open enemy. And this is something that we cannot take for granted. When somebody becomes Muslim, when they take Shahadah, they have what I like to call the new Shahadah zeal, the new Shahadah energy burst. And a lot of us that take in Shahadah, we know what that feels like. Every piece of knowledge you can get, you want to get it. Anything that we take to establish Islam, you're ready to do it. And it is our job as brothers and sisters who have been Muslim already, not to put cold water on them. Not to stop it. That new Shahadah energy, it only needs to be directed. Not misdirected or put out. You see, it's natural. I just gave you 3 examples. I can go on and on with almost every Sahaabah. You see, when they first took Shahadah, nobody stopped them. They channeled the energy. They didn't stop it. They didn't put any cold water on it. Because just like if you study what it takes for an airplane to take off or a rocket ship to take off, in order for it to get into its orbit, it uses a lot of energy. All the energy, all the fuel is used during takeoff. It doesn't take as much energy for it to fly once it gets into orbit. But you need that energy at takeoff. You need it. If not, you'll crash. If you don't have enough energy or something goes wrong during takeoff and you don't get into the proper orbit, you will crash. And it's the same thing when people become Muslim. They have that energy. Do not put cold water on it. Do not misdirect it. Channel that energy. When somebody becomes Muslim, they want to learn. Just because you've been Muslim 5, 10, 15, 20 years and you don't care about knowledge, don't pass that off on him. Because you're lazy and you don't want to learn anything, and somebody takes Shahadah, well, then, as long as Allah knows what's in your heart, you ain't got to learn nothing. No, keep that nonsense to yourself. Do not pour cold water on that. That new Shahadah zeal, that new Shahadah energy. Sometimes we're crazy. A lot of times we're crazy. We got serious mental issues sometimes. Like some of us, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Over 6 times in the Quran, Allah tells us what not to eat. Now, almost everybody, Muslims and non-Muslims, know that Muslims don't eat pork. You say, why? Because Allah says so in the Quran. I challenge every one of you sitting here. Every ayah where Allah says don't eat the flesh of pork, the same exact ayah says don't eat meat, which Allah's name hasn't been pronounced over. But how many of us don't eat pork, but we eat any other kind of regular meat at the supermarket? Now, everybody got a different excuse. Some people didn't know. When I first took Shahadah, I didn't know. It was about 3 years went by, I didn't know any better. Somebody explained it to me. Some people don't know. Some people have excuses. Well, halal meat costs too much. Or they got some new fatwa that didn't exist over 100 years ago, and they got all kinds of excuses. How would it look for me to go to that person, whatever his excuse is, and the only thing he doesn't eat is pork, but he eats everything else. Any regular meat out of Giant Eagle, he eats that. How do I look going to that person saying, brother, see, you got to watch out for the whey and the glycerin and monoglycerides? But I look like going to him with stuff on a label and he eating stuff that's clearly haram. That would make something wrong with me. I'm going to him with technical monoglyceride. What's that? That's like my priorities is mixed up. This brother's eating haram meat. Well, I look like some ingredient on a label that you could barely pronounce talking to him about that. That's what some of us do. If a new Shahadah come in here right now and he takes Shahadah, we'll be over him. Yeah, brother, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to watch out for the monoglycerides, you got to watch out for the glycerin. It's about like, oh, wait a minute, you got to pray that. We like crazy. Whatever our hang up is, we pass it right on to the person. And you got to do this, and you got to do that, you got to stay away from that, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. Whoa, whoa! How about Tawheed and Shirk? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the articles of faith. Let's start from the 5 pillars. How about that? We just want to dump on the person. And depending on that person, that can kill his energy. He can feel like he's overwhelmed, like, I don't know, man, I'm supposed to learn this thing, man. I can't remember. I think he said and he said, I don't know, it was a potato chip bag he showed me. And it was like, oh, wait a minute, I hear what you're talking about. Who's Allah? How many times you have to pray a day? I think it's 3 or 5, but I'm trying to memorize this glycerin thing. Wait a minute. We have to prioritize, and we have to be careful that we don't kill a new Muslim's energy. Because a lot of us will do that. A lot of us will do that. A lot of us only come to the masjid once a week. And so a new Shahadah will come here, and you say, well, you don't have to pray in the masjid. Here there's a person may not have a job and may be able to come to the masjid for all 5 prayers. And you just said you don't have to do that. You don't realize you're poisoning the person. I can show you Muslims right now that have been Muslim before I was born, and they got un-Islamic habits. They refuse to give up. And you know why they won't give it up? Because that's the way it was taught to them when they first took Shahadah. And nobody said nothing. Somebody poisoned them from day one, when they were most pure, when they were most vulnerable, when they had the most energy. And they took that energy, that information that was given to them, and they hold on to it. You can show them ayat after ayat, hadith after hadith, quote, scholar after scholar. No, I don't want to hear that. That's the way they taught me when I first took Shahadah 40 years ago. You can't tell me nothing. So we have to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we hold positions, we have opinions, and we know they are Islamic. If you have any sincerity, if you have any ikhlas, keep that to yourself. Don't give it to somebody that's new and vulnerable. If you can't connect your opinion to the Quran and the Sunnah, and I know some people are kind of simplistic. I don't mean your opinion is black and white written in the Quran and the Sunnah. I mean the foundation for what you're saying, the premise. There's room for your opinion within the guidelines of the Quran and the Sunnah. If you can't say that, then you need to keep it to yourself. You really need to give it up. But definitely don't pass it to anybody else. Don't pass it to anybody else. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make us one who will hinder anybody's growth in Islam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah.
Imam Naeem Abdullah of Masjid Al-Mu'min and Nur Zaman Institute is available for speaking engagements. You can contact Imam Naeem Abdullah at the following: via telephone at 267-388-0823, or write him at 537 Paulson Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15206, or via email at imamnaeem@nurzamaninstitute.org.
Bismillah.